As I said in the introduction, higher awareness psychology, or HAP, is based on the observation that humankind is gradually increasing our awareness of all aspects of life. And the result of this realization is, of course, we can look back and we can say, well, we had a lower awareness of many things in the past than we have today, or that we have the potential to acquire today. So if you look at your own life, you can look back at your childhood and youth, and you can see that you were most likely brought up, as most of us are, with a very inadequate understanding of your own psychology. Now, you could ask yourself, but this is a more theoretical question, but you could ask yourself, if you grew up in a society that sees that as important to educate children about certain things, math, geography, computers, this or that, you could ask yourself, why isn't society educating children about the one thing that affects everything we do in life, namely our psychology? But that's not really what HAP is meant to solve that question. HAP is meant to say, if you realize you were brought up with an inadequate understanding of psychology, here's something you can do about it. You can increase your awareness, you can take command over your psychology and do something about it. So just as a very brief summary here, most of us were brought up with one of two models of psychology. You have the traditional religious model, which is that there's a God who created us, and even though this God is perfect and good, He created us as sinners, so we are imperfect. And the implication of this is that God created you with the psychology you have, meaning there isn't much to do about it. Instead, you need to rely on an external savior who's going to come and save you. Now, the other view is scientific materialism, which says we are the products of a very long process of evolution. So humankind's psychology has gradually evolved to what it is today. So you are born with a certain genetic inheritance that affects your psychology, and then during your childhood and upbringing, you are affected by nurture and nature. So by the time you reach adulthood, your psychology is pretty much set in stone, according to a strict materialistic view. Now, of course, if you look at society over the last several decades, millions of people throughout the world, but especially, of course, in the more affluent part of the world where people have free time, have actually looked beyond this and said, this can't be right. There must be something I can do to change my life by changing myself, by looking at my psychology. And the first thing you can do here is realize, what kind of beings are we? Yeah, you can say we are human beings, but in most societies, the definition of what it means to be a human being implies a lot of limitations. There are certain things that are put upon you in childhood. This is how we live in our society. This is how we live in our family. This is what you can do, what you can't do. This is what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. So you can say you are brought up to be a human being according to your society's definition of that. But in reality, you're not a human being. You are a psychological being. Why? Because everything that happens in your life affects your psychology and is affected by your psychology. What's happening right now as you're watching this video? You're having an experience. The experience takes place inside your mind, right? Now here is how you were brought up to see this. Just this very simple act of you watching this video. You were brought up to see it this way. External circumstances equals your life experience. In other words, you're watching this video, and the video is the external circumstances, is the input that's coming to you. And this video determines what is happening inside your mind, how you are experiencing the video. But this is actually very inaccurate. So there is another component that we are not brought up to think about. And it's this: internal circumstances. So in other words, external circumstances plus your internal circumstances equals your life experience. Right? This is the reality that you weren't brought up to know in school. And what are the internal circumstances? Well, it's your psychology. Some people would call it your personality, your individuality, but it's actually more than that, and this is what we will, of course, teach you during this HAP course or on this website. So, but what we can say is, right now, you are watching this video. Yes, there is input coming into your mind from the outside. Of course there is. And it does affect you. But think about situations where, think about, for example, you've been watching a movie with a friend. You have one experience of the movie. Your friend might have a different one. You're watching the same movie, right? But you have different reactions to it, and many other things in life like that. Why are you sometimes in disagreement with other people? Why can you have people, you're in the same situation, you've experienced the same situation, but you disagree on what to do about it or how to interpret it? That's because the same input in your mind and your friend's mind produced different life experiences. Why? Because your friend and you have different internal circumstances. So even though you are watching the same movie, the effect it has in your psychology is different from your friend's because your internal circumstances are different from his. That's why you have different experiences. And that's why you have different experiences of life. Why people have many different experiences of life. So the key to this whole thing is to realize something simple about the equation of life, right? So 4 plus 4 equals 8. This is a mathematical equation. But if you change one thing, 4 plus 6 equals 10. So in other words, you may not be able to change your external circumstances. Actually, in many cases you can, and HAP will actually tell you how. By changing your psychology, you'll also be able to change your external circumstances. But let's just say you can't, or there are certain aspects of your external circumstances you can't change, right? But if you change your internal circumstances, your life experience will change, just like if you change the 4 to a 6, the facet of the equation will be different. So the whole idea, the might say central idea behind HAP is that if you learn how to change your internal circumstances, your life experience will be improved. And you can think about it this way. Let's say there are certain external circumstances you can't change. But if they didn't cause you frustration or suffering, would it be so bad if you couldn't change them? If you could find a way to deal with them so you could either not be affected by them, or you could see them as a positive, or you could at least be able to focus on other aspects of your life, would it be such a big deal if you couldn't change them? So in other words, HAP will show you how to take command over your internal circumstances, your psychology, and change that part of the equation of life. And when you change your internal circumstances, your life experience will change. It's guaranteed. It cannot be any other way. You could say that, let's say right now you're wearing red glasses and you're looking at a blue sky. Well, the red glasses color the light coming from the sky so it appears purple to you. You could change the glasses and put on yellow glasses, and then the sky would appear green. But what HAP will show you is to take off the glasses so you can look at the sky without this distortion that causes you to be frustrated. So if this resonates with you, just keep watching the videos or reading what's on the website.